Introducing your hosts, Sam Godsey and Tanner Dislin. Welcome to Crunch Time with the N326 Duo.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 221. I am your host today, Sam Godsey. With me today, crowned as a new champion, Tanner Dislin. Tanner, how you feeling?
Sam, these past couple days have been unbelievable, as is well documented on this podcast. My favorite sports teams are a whole lot of losers. I've never seen any of my teams win a championship, and that ended on Saturday night when the New York Knicks won the NBA Finals for the first time in 53 years. I mean, it's one of the most absurd finals runs, and one of the craziest stories to see unfold in the NBA Finals. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. So I'm ready to get. I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome weekend in sports. We got the NBA playoffs wrapped up, the Stanley Cup playoffs wrapped up, the World Cup going on. We'll have a guest on later this episode about that. Even at the UFC at the White House. So a lot of awesome sports. But Tanner, I have a feeling I know where you want to go first, but where do you want to start on episode 221?
Yeah, let's start with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Saturday night, your Knicks become NBA champions, finishing the series against the San Antonio Spurs 4-1 with a score of 94-90. Tanner, it seemed the story with this, at least when we were talking about, was Jalen Brunson hasn't been the greatest this series, but we kept saying it's going to happen eventually. Just it's not a matter of it was a matter of when it was going to happen. And frankly, it was the Jalen Brunson show in Game 5.
It was absolutely that. Going through, because I've gone through each game obviously a million times in my own head and kind of gone through the contributions from each person and who is the key X factor in this game and that game and the other game. And yeah, we had yet to have the game where Brunson was the best player for the Knicks. Where Brunson was the reason why they won, that was his legacy type game. We had yet to have that until Saturday night when he had 45 points, including the fourth quarter, which, stop me if you've heard this before, the Knicks were losing in the fourth quarter, and Brunson just completely and utterly took the game over, Sam. Completely took it over. Every possession was put in the hands of Jalen Brunson, and he delivered every damn time. There are not enough words to describe what Jalen Brunson has meant to the New York Knicks and to the city of New York. He's a legend, he's an icon, and he will forever be immortalized in New York sports culture, memory, all of the above.
Yeah, absolutely. He was absolutely incredible. Obviously named Finals MVP. But as good as Jalen Brunson was in specifically Game 5 and Game 4, you have to give credit where credit is due, and that is a supporting cast. Obviously, Game 2, it seemed that Cat was the front runner for Finals MVP 2 games into this series. We saw the contributions from Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby. I mean, we talked at length last episode about his performance in Game 4. How important was this supporting cast?
I mean, it's supremely important. You know, it's basketball, obviously more so than other sports, just because of the sheer number of people on the floor. But basketball is I mean, just like anything, it's a team sport. Like, there's only so much certain people can do. Look back at I can't remember exactly what year it was, but the finals where LeBron averaged like a 40-point triple double, and they got gentlemen swept, and they might have even gotten actually swept. It's just, you need the supporting cast. And going through each game, like you said, game one, the Knicks do not win without Karl-Anthony Towns being maybe the best player on the floor. And if it wasn't him, then it was Josh Hart being the best player on the floor, gathering 15 rebounds. Karl-Anthony Towns playing like unbelievable defense on Victor Wembanyama. Game two, the Knicks do not win without that same stellar defense from Towns, but incredible shot making from Mikal Bridges in game two. Game three, that was the game they lost. Game four, they do not win without, obviously, Brunson's fourth quarter was incredible. But they don't win without OG Anunoby being probably the best player on the floor, adding 33, and then the tip heard around the world to secure that to secure that game. And there were a couple different guys heading into Game 5 that you're like, hey, a good showing here can maybe put them in the MVP conversation. But then that was Brunson time. So it's very rare, I think. Our team's up 3-1 in the NBA Finals when their best player is yet to be truly the best player on the court for that team. And that's what happened with the Knicks. Like, they were so expertly built. And when you have an undersized best player, undersized go-to guy, you surround him with 3-and-D guys who have size, who can play defense, and you can shoot the ball. And that's exactly what the Knicks did. And it just made this juggernaut of a team this postseason. And that's why personally, this team, not obviously today they won, but I just fell in love with the makeup of the team. I fell in love with every single one of the players because they were built so well. They all had a role, and they do not win an NBA championship without all 5 starters, without Jose Alvarado playing unbelievably clutch minutes, without Mitchell Robinson coming in and providing much needed size and rebounding off the bench, without Landry Shamet's 3-point shooting. And these are all bench guys. They just don't win it without all of them. And luckily for the Knicks, they had all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, let's rewind it back a little bit. Y'all all saw the almost immediate reaction after the historic comeback by the Knicks in Game 4. I mean, coming back from a double digits late in Game 5. I mean, that kind of perfectly encapsulates this series, man.
Every game, the biggest, I think the smallest, largest lead the Spurs had, if that makes any sense. So, they had a lead in every game. The smallest, largest lead in I think it was Game 2, and it was like 14.
Yeah,
or, maybe it was 12. But yeah, it was 16, sometimes even as high as 29. And there are so many stats, and to be honest with you, I'm very frustrated right now because I liked a whole bunch of stats I wanted to read out, and Twitter is not letting me access my likes. I can't scroll over to my likes right now, which is really frustrating because I had a whole bunch of just wrap up stats about how this team went. I think they had 5 wins when they were down double digits in the fourth quarter. And the rest of the league in the past 5 years has like 3 or 4. Or maybe it was the last 2 years, the Knicks have 5 wins when they're down double digits in the fourth quarter. The rest of the league had 4. They lost 3 games by a combined 6 points, and they had a plus 283 point differential. The most dominant in NBA history. You could take out the Knicks' biggest win, Sam, which was Game 6, the closeout game against Atlanta, which was a 51-point win. If you take out the Knicks' biggest win in the postseason, they still have the largest margin of victory in NBA history.
Yeah.
dominant, unprecedented levels of dominance. I can't say enough. I can't talk enough about this team. I can't absorb enough about this team because it's not only that they won, it's everyone is just so damn likable. And if you want to, the thing that really got me was the Mike Brown sign off. Have you seen this? To the NBA. I think we watched it, but obviously there was a lot going on in that moment. But I've seen it on Twitter a few times. He goes through each of the individual players and just talks about them, what their NBA, what their journey has been, how they blossomed into a champion, and it's beautiful. It's just a perfect storm of team. I cannot. The more I talk about it, the more I'm just going to continue to rave because it was just tremendous to watch, and it's one of those teams where you're blessed to root for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a question. What was I going to say? So the news going into the off season before this magical season for the Knicks started, Jalen Brunson made a move that is unprecedented in this modern day and age. He actually took a pay cut, which led to bringing in Mikal Bridges and Cat. Obviously, that has huge implications on this finals run. Do you think now that has happened, do you think we see that more? Or is it just like how humble Brunson is? It's just like his personality.
Look, first off, I do think it's definitely his personality because obviously he's the first. He was the one to do it when no one ever did. But I think it's already been talked about. Was it Jay Williams who said that he's heard from, I don't know if it's executives or who exactly, but he's heard that players are starting to take note of this because like we've just covered in this podcast, the Knicks don't do this without the supporting cast. No team has ever done it without the supporting cast.
Yeah.
And you just need that available money to go and make the best team you can. And Jalen Brunson seems like he may have started a trend because it's an unprecedented move, and OG's making a ton of money. Mikal's making a ton of money. Cat's making a ton of money. They were able to put them together because Brunson left a whole bunch on the table.
Yeah.
And put together this team. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked at length how great Jalen Brunson was in Game 5. Are you building the statue outside Madison Square Garden? Is he where does he rank among the greatest Knicks right now?
Mount Rushmore. You build the statue outside MSG. You build the statue at Grand Central Station. You build the statue at LaGuardia and one at JFK. You build the statue just about every corner of the city. No one ever, I can say this with full confidence, no one is going to wear number 11 for the New York Knicks ever again because of just what he means to the city and to the franchise. He's an all-time great. I think the only arguments right now are the guys who won 2 in the 70s, so Walt Clyde and all that team in the 70s. That's the only argument. Like Ewing obviously was a tremendous Knick, never got it done, always ran into Jordan or Hakeem or Dave Robinson, the Spurs in 99. Like these guys are all great, but Brunson, man, he's the one that changed it all.
Yeah.
He's just the one that changed it all.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that we've talked, I'm sure you have more, so feel free to chime in. But I kind of want to take a look at the other side of this NBA Finals. Obviously, talking the San Antonio Spurs. Tanner, this Spurs team, we kind of touched on it the last episode after giving up a 29-point lead in Game 4. They come out in Game 5. It was like a repeat. Obviously, they didn't jump out to the 29 like they did in Game 4, but I believe they were up by 16 at one point, and it just seemed to fall apart. Obviously, the story with De'Aaron Fox just not playing good. Like there's no way to sugarcoat it. He was awful this series. A big reason why San Antonio kept blowing leads. I mean, he shot 3 for 15 in this one. Where does the blame lie? Because you got guys like De'Aaron Fox, 3 for 15, Stephon Castle, 1 for 10. Even Wemby shot 7 for 19. I just want to get your thoughts on what the blame is, because personally, I think it is 100, not 100%, because that's ridiculous. But Mitch Johnson had one of, if not the worst coaching performances, because he kept giving the damn ball to De'Aaron Fox when you have Dylan Harper coming off your bench. He was their leading scorer in Game 5. He was absolutely incredible. He was kind of the, I hate to say this because they built so many leads, but he was kind of the only bright spot on the Spurs. I mean, this series, he had 16, 15, 13, 21, 25, all within that 28 to 32 range. And yet you still get Johnson going back to a guy that's shooting 1 for 10, 2 for 15. Talk to me about kind of who's to blame for this one for Spurs.
Yes, if I had to say which member of the Spurs do I think had the worst performance in the finals, it would be Mitch Johnson. And you nailed it. The question mark, because in terms of actual like playing the matchups, I think he did a very good thing by taking Wemby off of Cat, putting Wemby on Josh Hart, someone who you think you can leave open. I think there were some matchup things he did that I think worked. The thing for me, as you've said, the hesitancy to play who was largely the Spurs' best player in this series, the reliance on someone who continually just did not have it this series, and I think another one is the hesitancy to go to a strategy he's used in the past and worked well in the Hackimage.
Yeah.
Particularly in Game 5.
Yeah.
When Cat was in foul trouble.
Picked up too early.
Knicks had whether they're clinging to a small lead or was, I guess, in the back of his mind, he just didn't. The Spurs may have been up by 1 or 2 at that point, and he just couldn't put the tying free throws or the tying points at the free throw line. Mitch is not going to make 2. I promise you, he's not going to make 2. But he just didn't. Yeah, he went to it early in the series and he abandoned it for some reason. And we forget the whole story is how young the team is. Mitch Johnson is also very young.
Yeah,
this was his first true playoff run, and it showed. I mean, Mike Brown, as we said, coached circles around him a couple different times.
Yeah.
And when it got down to it in the fourth quarter, you had a reigning NBA clutch player of the year who, no matter how poorly he shot, always showed up in the fourth quarter. And on the other side, you had a point guard who was largely not playing well and a head coach who didn't put in a guard who was the Spurs' most consistent option. And I think a lot of the Spurs' best players, that what I'm going to put in air quotes here, that big 3 that's probably going to be there for a long time and going to win a lot of games in San Antonio, Wembanyama, Dylan Harper, Steph Castle. I feel like those 3 largely were nowhere to be found when it mattered most.
Yeah.
And it seemed like on the exact opposite Brunson wanted the ball. He knew exactly what he was going to do. He knew exactly what spot he needed to get to, and he knew exactly how he was going to do it, while the other three didn't. They stood around. They looked at each other. They didn't know what to do. So they looked towards the only sort of veteran leadership on this team, which was De'Aaron Fox, who just did not have it this series at any point.
Yeah.
So it just became a largely stagnant offense that didn't get it done when it mattered most. And I think that's a learning. That's for the Spurs. That is a learning opportunity. It needs to be a learning opportunity for the big three I mentioned and for Mitch Johnson.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you nailed it. It was a guy that has been in those situations when it comes to Mike Brown and a guy who hasn't with Mitch Johnson. It was, yeah. I mean, one question I got for you, Tanner, is obviously we all saw that great comeback. What are we looking at if the Spurs hang on to that 20? Like, are we talking a totally different series? Like, are they still playing? Like, it's just kind of one of those what if factors.
It is. It absolutely is, because as frequent as the Knicks came back, obviously the headline was that 29 points. Well, game 5, similar situation in the fourth quarter. I believe the Knicks were down as much as 11 in the fourth quarter. And it's always in the back of your head, like, how are we going to blow this one? How are we going to blow this one? Not to mention just the generic feeling in the building in a 2-2 series or a 3-1 series, right? You just feel different as a player when you're facing elimination and when you're not.
Yeah.
And they were just, I remember the feeling as the fan, which I've said, I've read my text. I remember the feeling as a fan watching the Knicks get pummeled into the ground in game 4, looking at a 2-2 series being like, oh my goodness, they're blowing this, because then the Spurs take back home court and they now, and they don't have the feeling of every time they have a lead, they're going to blow it. They do blow it. It gets to game 5. And even though they have a lead, there's that small little thing in the back of their head saying, how are we going to blow this one? How are we going to blow this one? How are we going to blow this one?
Yeah.
And guess what? They did.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, it was a great series. Congrats again. Your New York Knicks are NBA champions. Got any final thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, a couple. I do want to shout out someone as well that we haven't talked about yet. And I might say his name, and a bunch of non-Knick fans may look at that and be like, who the hell is that? Leon Rose, the Knicks president of basketball operations. He took over just 1 year after the Knicks' initial surge with the RJ Barrett and Julius Randle. He was the one who made the trade and said our high starting shooting guard, small forward, and our draft pick point guard, who have largely played well for this team, in RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, we're going to trade you to go out and get OG Anunoby. How important was OG Anunoby? Obviously, he was probably number 2 in MVP. He was the one who said the free agent power forward who we signed, who was our best player for a lot of those years and was our number 1 option. No, I'm going to trade him and go get this down on his luck with all the talent in the world, former top draft pick in Karl-Anthony Towns. And he brought him in. How good was Karl-Anthony Towns? We covered that. First 2 games, he was MVP, probably 3rd in MVP.
Yeah.
He made all the right trades. And some of them were misses. He was the one who signed Fournier. He was the one who signed Kemba Walker. Not all of them were misses. Or not all of them were hits, excuse me. But this team was his creation. He had the gall to push some buttons and trade away some heavy fan favorite players and built an incredible basketball team. And did so, Sam. Yes, Jalen Brunson is incredible. There was no Kevin Durant out there to sign. He didn't go out and just sign a super mega duper max to a bona fide superstar, and that jump-started the rebuild.
Yeah.
He was never blessed with a top draft pick. The Knicks had horrendous luck in the lottery. They didn't have any of that. Like the Spurs, they had the best luck in the lottery ever, and that's how they are where they are.
Yeah.
And, a lot of these teams, they go out and they sign Like the Lakers, they signed LeBron. The Rockets, they got and get Durant. The Knicks didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
They didn't. And it's just one of the most impressive rebuilds I've ever seen from an executive. And I just wanted to give him his flowers because it just every time his name is brought up, it needs to be mentioned that he didn't have a number one pick. He didn't have a bona fide superstar come to the team. No, he built this. He went out and found him. He built this, and it was an unbelievable job.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
yeah, absolutely. Anything else? Though?
Just it feels so good when something means so much, like as sports do. Like, I mean, look around here. What do we do in our free time? We talk about sports. What do I spend my money on? Sports cards, sports pictures, sports jerseys. And when something like this, when you follow it, you love it, and it has been met with so much losing, it really takes a toll. And it starts to, I don't know, you just kind of take on that personality. You start to think less of yourself because of how bad a team you root for is. And then you know how ridiculous it is that it makes you even feel worse that you let this team and this thing ruin your mental health as much as it does. But it does. And every time you meet someone, you try and talk sports and you tell them your favorite teams, you're met with, oh, why? Why? Like, why did you choose that? If I had a nickel for every time someone said, why do you choose that? It just, all of this isn't a choice. It's just within me. And for the first time, it just feels like it rewarded all that love. And it means the world. It just means the world.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. New York is going to be an absolute madhouse on Thursday for the parade when this episode drops. 53-year celebration in the making. Absolutely incredible. Any final thoughts on this, man?
I think that's it. A team immortalized. It's basketball royalty as they deserve to be.
Yeah.
And I'm so lucky to be a fan of this specific team. And I've officially fallen back in love with Knicks basketball. And I have no one else to thank except for everyone involved with the 2026 New York Knicks.
Yeah, absolutely. But that was not the only champion crowned this weekend, as the Carolina Hurricanes beat the Vegas Golden Knights to capture their second Stanley Cup in franchise history, winning 3-0. Now, I'm not going to dive into the X and O's. We talked about how this series was absolutely drunk the first 3 games. The series kind of evened out later in the series, and that's all thanks to Brandon Bussey, who was phenomenal for the Canes. He is the unsung hero. The starter got pulled game 3, stepped in, absolutely dominated the series, even had a 22 save shutout in game 6.
I'm sussy for Bussy. This guy rocks.
Yeah.
There's no greater underdog story. We just talked about all the Knicks, all the da-da-da. There's no greater underdog story in sports than Brandon Bussey. He's old. I don't know his age off the top of my head, but I know he's an old rookie. Never got a chance. Was in different organizations, playing minor league hockey. He comes in game 3, and the pendulum of the momentum of this series can be pinpointed directly to when Brandon Bussey was put in. Because in that game 3, it was a 1-1 series. In that game 3, when he was put in, the Knights had like a 3-goal or 4-goal lead. I think they were up 4-0. Bussey gets put in, completely stops the Vegas scoring. Carolina comes all the way back. That's what the game they scored the 3 and 39. They tie it. They ended up losing game 3. But that was Vegas was it was a full on almost collapse.
Yeah.
The Hurricanes never lost again. They won the next 3. He was the main reason for their comeback, and he won the next 3. The conversation of this finals to me doesn't necessarily end because there were some really good players on Carolina, but he was the most important player of the series, and for that to be such a big underdog story is awesome.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. That was absolutely electric. Anything else, Tanner, in regards to sports? I mean, we got the College World Series going on. Nothing too crazy there.
Well, actually, going back to hockey for a second, Rob Brendamore is the head coach of Carolina. Pretty special stuff. He was the captain of the Carolina Hurricanes when they won in, I believe, 2006, when they won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, 2006, yeah.
And I think he became the first or maybe the second. It's a very short list of people to win the Stanley Cup as a captain and as a coach for the same franchise. And that's pretty special.
Yeah, that's sick. I did not know that. That's awesome. Yeah, it was an awesome series, even if you're casual like us. A couple more things that happened. UFC had their White House event. It was one of the best fight cards in recent memory. All 7 fights finished in knockouts or technical knockouts. And some upsets as well, including Justin Gaethje 6-1 upset over Topuria. It was one of the coolest events. Just the atmosphere was absolutely nuts. And then what else happened? Like I said, College World Series, nothing too crazy happening there. Let me pull up the updated bracket real quick.
I think Ole Miss has been eliminated, I believe.
Yeah, West Virginia beat Troy 12-0 today.
Is that gone? Is that officially the end for Troy?
Eliminates Troy. Oklahoma beat Georgia 4-3. That eliminated Georgia. Right now we got Georgia, Texas playing.
So Georgia's not eliminated.
Not eliminated.
Right? They're playing Texas right now.
Yeah. Sorry. Dude, they make this so confusing because there's a winner's bracket. West Virginia beat Troy, and then North Carolina beat Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. And then West Virginia lost to North Carolina. And then Troy and Ole Miss played. Troy beat Ole Miss. They played West Virginia, and then West Virginia beat Troy. So now it's North Carolina, West Virginia. Alabama lost to Oklahoma. Georgia beat Texas. And then Oklahoma beat Georgia. So Oklahoma is on the next round. Alabama and Texas were in the elimination. So now Georgia and Texas are playing. It's
Georgia, Texas are in an elimination game. Does it clearly mark which ones are elimination games? So we can get it. So we've said goodbye to Ole Miss, Troy, and
so Bama. Right now Bama? The Georgia, Bama is eliminated.
Ole Miss and Troy.
Ole Miss and Troy. So
and then this
Georgia, Texas, loser of this eliminated. Oklahoma has 0 losses. West Virginia has 1 loss, and UNC has 0. So some interesting matchups being played. So if you haven't tuned in, tune in. The World Cup is underway. We're gonna have Joseph Weinsinger on to break down all the action, all the craziness that is the FIFA World Cup in North America, specifically the atmosphere, the craziness that is the World Cup. Okay, we welcome on reoccurring guest Joseph Weinsinger to break down some of this electric World Cup. Joseph, how you doing, man? How you feeling about this World Cup so far?
Man, it's been everything I've hoped for and more. This was something that I look forward to back in 22, like even before that, back, when we were in high school, looking ahead and seeing this as a possibility and it finally coming to life. It's just a dream come true, man. The only thing that would make it better is if I won, some free tickets to the finals or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it has been absolutely incredible. Just like not only the soccer, but the atmosphere around it has just been freaking awesome. I mean, all the hosts are just jam packed with people. The Scots taking over Boston, the whole storyline with this German guy on Twitter just having the time of his life in the southern part of the United States. But
forget about the free chips heard around the world.
Yeah, it's just crazy. But even obviously, a little more about this sport than we do. But I have loved every minute of it. And I think the best way to go about this is to kick it off, per se, with
pun intended,
the U.S. in their opening matchup. Just absolutely dominates Paraguay 4-1. And obviously, there's a lot of talk about the past couple years has been talks about the golden age of U.S. soccer. Are we officially into that? How you feeling about this U.S. team?
Man, I think everyone was super curious about what exactly would happen because we always seem to have high hopes and then we seem to be somewhat underwhelming as a team, as a program, and soccer's not our thing. I mean, here in the United States, right? So the bar is already inherently low. But I think kind of the turning point, which we talked about last time I was on here, was Mauricio Pochettino, who's our head coach now, who has just a major pedigree in European soccer. It's an Argentina guy who came through, England, coached, Southampton to Spurs to PSG and then to Chelsea. That's just a blue blood resume. So everybody was super curious what he could do. And you said it, I think after this Paraguay matchup, it's nice to have a little bit of evidence that we can play as a unit because you see a lot of these teams in the World Cup that are, a lot of them aren't used to playing together. Some teams have a lot of European League players, others don't. So you see a lot of individuals out there. Which is interesting, right? There's a bunch of ballers on the field, but they don't know how to link up with each other. The chemistry's low. So with the USA, we kind of saw, I think, a glimpse of what our potential, what the ceiling might look like for the team. And I think everybody's happy with how that game went.
Yeah, I want to ask about Paraguay for a second because, I've seen enough. We're the best team ever created. Talk to me a little bit about Paraguay because we absolutely dominated them. Is Paraguay awful? Are we incredible? A little bit of both. What set the bar for Paraguay so people like myself can react accordingly?
Well, I don't think anybody, was coming in thinking Paraguay was going to be, a leader of the group. Really, I think it's probably likely that Paraguay is third or last in our group. I mean, I think Australia and Turkey had a damn good showing as well. And who knows, Paraguay may step up against Turkey, who lost to Australia, and might surprise us. But I don't think that's expected for me. I'm not too familiar with their national team, and that kind of says what it says, But I think Australia and I think Turkey are both pretty solid. We have I just think our group is favorable as well. It kind of poises the United States to do good things. I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I'm pretty optimistic about our spot in the group and where where we'll be after these 3 games. I don't have much at all as far as an analysis of Paraguay, man. I think they're kind of a non-factor, and I think that was kind of a softball warm-up game, is what it felt like. They're a South American team who historically haven't done a whole lot, and I think like I said, if we didn't come out with a 4-1 victory, there might have been some questions involved if we won 2-1 or so. It could have gone a lot of different ways, but I think we really kind of proved that Paraguay's not really a threat in this group, honestly.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a real world where we win uneasy and we're having these doubts, but it was nice to see. I guess what I'm gathering here is that it was a team we should beat. We came out and we played well, and that's encouraging.
That's fair. I think that's fair. They're just not. It's not like anybody was afraid here, but it was more like an afraid of our own potential kind of thing.
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about. I'm gonna butcher this dude's name, but Florin Balogun.
Yeah.
Talk to me about him, because he looked unreal in this one.
Dude, Balogun is probably, without a doubt, he's the purest finisher on our team, and I think he has proven that recently. I mean, this is a guy who plays in Monaco, so he's not just some shyster. He's a good player, and everybody knows he is. But it's a question of, really, to me, when you get Christian Pulisic up there in Balogun, that's our dynamic duo as far as I'm concerned. In the way we saw that. We saw the friendly against Senegal. I don't know if y'all watched that game or not, but that was about a month ago now, where we played Senegal, who are the champions of Africa. They're the best team in Africa, and we did end up beating them what seemed to be pretty handily. And Pulisic and Balogun, were a factor in that game too, linking up for a goal. So I think Balogun is a pure striker, a young guy who's just a technical finisher, which is what you want as that 9 position, somebody up top that can just put goals away. There's different archetypes of strikers out there, but Balogun is a guy who, at least so far, seems to be just a little bit of a kind of a precise, kind of a sneaky, and a quick and a strong guy too. He's got big potential, I guess I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shout out his mom for deciding to travel to the United States while 9 months pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But this there's been a lot of 2-2, 1-1 ties so far in this one, and one that kind of circled my mind was this Brazil versus Morocco matchup. Tied 1-1. Me being the casual that I am, I see Brazil. I see them as a top dog automatically, and they tie with Morocco. Now, I understand Morocco is one of the best teams in the world right now, but talk to me about how this Brazil team is looking.
That's a good question, man. It's always tough to gauge that before you get into the tournament, how teams, like I said, are going to play with each other. Brazil, they're known for, they play in a way that's technical, and it's sexy, and it's entertaining. That's Brazil, right? When you think of Brazil, you think of, they've always got a Vinicius Jr. or a Neymar or a Ronaldinho or Robinho or one of these players that's like flashy, right? Or at least one, probably a few. Like, they're just fun to watch. Where Brazil kind of seemed to be disconnected was just as far as the team chemistry goes, really, in this one. They have some of the best players in the world. I mean, Vinny Jr., the guy is peaking now in his career. He has been peaking, and he's in the middle of it, really. So I think, it's so hard to judge off a first half or a first game in the World Cup. These teams are still getting acclimated, and I think for a lot of these kind of teams, Brazil being one of them, this is going to be something that I think will change in game 2, game 3, as teams kind of find their step and start and continue to train together and try to make adjustments. And you said it. I mean, Morocco, it's easy to look at Morocco and to say, "Oh, what the hell's Morocco?" You know,
Yeah.
but we're looking at Morocco as a team that got fourth place in 2022. I mean, this is a team that is still has most of their starters from that team. And I mean, you like one guy comes to mind as a world class player is Hakimi, who's on PSG, is one of the best like wing backs in the world. I mean, has been and will continue to be. So this is a guy that can run a team. They're not that is without a doubt Brazil's toughest game in their group. In Morocco, I I don't even know if you call them a dark horse. Maybe they are, but they are certainly good enough to get out of the group and do some damage for at least a round or two.
Yeah. In that same vein, I feel like the natural progression here is to talk about another world powerhouse who had a surprising draw. That being Spain, who I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they played their toughest opponent in their group, but they left with a 0-0 draw. How
Yeah,
surprising was this? And where on the panic meter do you think Spanish fans should be?
you know, man, Spain will be just fine. I think, given I think they probably have. I mean, Uruguay certainly a good team as well. Um, Spain will be just fine. I think this is kind of yeah. There's alarm bells kind of ringing. Our boy Alonso went to
Dude,
that game.
that sucks.
I mean, that does suck. What a boring match. Wasn't it 0-0 draw? I mean,
Yeah.
that's just not the game you want to go spend a shit ton of money
And
in.
the game you're expected to dominate too. That's brutal.
Yeah. I don't think they're in trouble, man. I think it's not a good thing to tie Cape Verde in any like timeline. It's just not what anybody expected. I mean, I think most people thought they were going to hang 4 or 5 goals on them pretty easily. Um, However, shit happens, as they say. I mean, it's not like these teams are going to come in full stride and just slam everybody every time. Yeah, Uruguay is going to be a true test to Spain. I don't know if they play Uruguay next or the third game, but it's going to be a real test for Spain whenever they match up against Uruguay. I mean, Spain. I think Spain are the number one favorites right now, as far as statistics go, and as far as like money lines and whatnot. So, right up there with France. I mean, they'll find their stride. They'll be okay. They're a world class team with some of the best in the world. They're used to playing together. They're a lot of those guys are in the same league. I'm not concerned about it.
Yeah. Definitely a shocker in that group stage. But now I kind of want to dive into the names everyone knows. Obviously, talking Messi, Holland, is that how you pronounce his name?
Oh yeah,
Mbappe. I mean,
Hurricane.
these 3, 4 guys are absolutely unreal. Messi with 3 goals in their matchup against Algeria, tying the most goals in World Cup. Is that correct?
um,
Was that he tied some record with 16 goals? I can't remember exactly what the
oh
wording
yeah. Well,
was.
he's tied for the most goals of all time in the World Cup as a career. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's also played in the most games of any player ever in World Cup history because
Yeah.
they always go far.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll let you finish your question, but yeah, what a clinic! I mean, world class by Messi. That was awesome.
Yeah. It was unreal. Um, Holland, Kane, all these Mbappe as well. And then you get to today with Ronaldo. 0 goals, 2 water breaks, and just was not good. Was not good. And I'm a Ronaldo guy. Um, is it just the simplicity of Father Time has finally caught up with him?
Who knows, man? I think Yeah, you're right, dude. Clinics all around by Holland, by Messi, Mbappe, Harry Kane. These are guys, some in their prime, some way past, and are all playing at they're showing up. They're here for it. And then I think, yeah, all eyes. It was like it's CR7's turn, um,
Two
and he.
water breaks is diabolical, dude.
I will say, yeah, watching that Portugal match earlier, all eyes were on him. The fans go crazy when Ronaldo gets the ball and they want him to do something. He his movement or lack of movement was kind of concerning. The way they were talking about how he had tried to kind of rework his movement mechanics as far as positioning goes, and how he moves around in the 18-yard box. And apparently, this was kind of a something that is somewhat new. It's like a new approach, dynamic approach to the game for him. Whatever the hell that was, I think we can just not do that. Uh, because he was just a total non-factor, not even involved in the game. He had a few touches, never even smelled an opportunity. When he did, they were just terrible takes, not sitter goals, but goals that you should 100% be putting on frame. Um, I don't know, you see players have crappy games on occasion. Um, it's hard to say, man. I don't watch the Saudi league, so like I don't see him playing very often anymore.
Yeah.
But you wonder if a 41-year-old dude or whatever he is now moves too quick, if he might like hurt himself or something. Yeah. So I he looked like an old man to me out there. Let's hope that changes, because I'd hate to see the final World Cup for one of the best to ever play the game to end up falling flat and just kind of being the last thing that you remember from the guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And kind of, I don't know if maybe it's just the first round and the stars are showing out, but something I've noticed in my first couple games watching this first round, I feel like in World Cups past, obviously we made the joke about the 0-0 tie, and I feel like when a lot of teams score, you kind of have this feeling like, oh, okay, like that's it. You're gonna end in 1-0. I feel like this tournament has had some insane equalizers, 4-2. Is that something that other people are noticing, or is that just me, where it just seems like there's a lot more goals being scored?
Yeah, you know, exciting times whenever there's teams producing goals. That's kind of, no matter who you are. I don't care how pure of a soccer fan you claim to be. Nobody wants to go and see a 0-0 tie.
Yeah.
It's just in group stages are the only time you'll see ties, obviously, without going to extra time. But um, I agree with you. It's been super fun to watch. It's been enthralling today. If
Yeah.
y'all are paying attention, you had Modric going up against England, and
Yeah.
Modric, who's an absolute legend, who's also an old man who got taken out like the
Brutal
50th
day.
minute. Right?
Brutal day
Yeah,
for him.
I mean, talk about. I mean, again, probably top five, maybe top three midfielders of all time. Stepping out there, over 40 years old. It's Modric and Ronaldo out there over 40. And they should be playing in the beer league. There's much younger players that were hotshot superstars. Gareth Bale sitting in the stands, for example, that have already hung it up. So you got to give credit. Today, that game was fantastic. You just had you know goal after goal equalizers, it felt like, constantly, and there was always chances. Those are fun games. It's a matter of what kind of game that each team plays, because you have teams like Spain who are probably like possession based, you could say, and they will probably have 75% possession against a team like Cape Verde. But when the chances don't come, or somebody they sit deep in the box and like
Yeah.
park the bus, as they say, it just makes for a boring ass game. um, and I don't like to watch it. I love to watch soccer, and I don't like to, and it's just not fun. So it's
Yeah.
fun to see, high energy USA going attacking the goal. Like it's just more fun.
Yeah. Absolutely. This tournament has been incredible so far. So we talked about, well, I want to give this man his flowers because Messi deserves those flowers. He was absolutely unreal in their opening match against Algeria, 3 goals, like I said. But it came with a little bit of controversy. Did he deserve a card, and if so, what color?
Well, what are you referring to?
I can't remember the exact time, but he basically went cleat up on a guy.
Oh, I didn't watch that entire game. I was busy doing something, so I watched a lot of it. But if there was a card given, I will say the refereeing in the tournament has been very inconsistent so far. That's something I've noticed. You've got people. I've seen somebody, stick their leg over someone's head and hit him in the neck with their cleat, and like you can tell there's a giant gash on his neck, and the ref doesn't care. And other times it's been touch fouls. You're just no matter what sport it is, the refs are gonna be
Can't
very
escape it.
inconsistent. You really just can't, dude. I'm waiting for like one game where the refs now, at least in baseball, you can like challenge, the strike zone, and I love that because I like when the refs look like idiots. But no, I don't know. I thought if when Messi scored his third, which I did not see live, I thought you were referring to maybe like he took his shirt off, like he likes to hold his shirt up to the crowd, his
Yeah.
legendary celebration, if you've ever seen that. But I don't know, man. He's not one that goes in for challenges very often, so who knows? Maybe that's just not his thing. So he probably put a cleat up there, and I don't know. That's a guy who's just never going to get thrown
Yeah.
out of the game because he's
Yeah,
just not,
exactly.
He's Wemby.
he's getting tackled, but yeah.
He's
Yeah.
never going to get a call. Sorry, had to take that shot. Does Argentina have a shot at this thing? I feel like I've been watching Argentina, the same Argentina team for about 17 straight World Cups. With literally the set, like there's a Di Maria in there, I think. There's Messi, obviously. Like I feel like I've been watching them forever. They have a shot to take a second in a row, you think?
I'm gonna say yes. Um, I wish Di Maria was still on the team, unless he's somewhere deep on the bench in street clothes or something. I wish they would bring him on. What a legend! Um, yeah, you've got Messi. You've got Martinez was the goalkeeper that did it for him in the penalty shootout. This is a guy who's a world class goalkeeper, big guy, still one of the top goalkeepers, and Argentina's team still looks somewhat and quite similar to what it did 4 years ago. Not to mention the Messi factor being, as a leader, as a guy who can take you that far, and he proved that, in his first game. You've also got you've got younger guys too that are kind of coming up, and you look at their squad, and it looks like some baby faces in there too. But you've got guys like McAllister who can hold down the midfield, who has played in the top leagues in Europe. This is a team that I think has a good mixture of vets and kind of a next generation of youngsters. They've got 18-year-old kids that are highly touted. It's hard to fill those shoes. You're going to look back, in a couple of decades, and this probably will be the shining squad for Argentina. Since the times of Maradona and the gang. But yeah, man, I mean, they're number one in the world, right? They're touting the number one rank. But I think there are better teams out there than Argentina. The way that they're playing, especially in the final third where they're attacking, is absolutely beautiful. I mean, nobody can argue the game that I watched, probably I think I watched 60 minutes of that game or something, but the way when they get into the final third and attack, that stands alone compared to other teams in this tournament. They are absolutely elite in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, they seem to be kind of the front runners so far. It looked absolutely dominant. But we talked about kind of the headline names. So Mbappe's, the Holland, the Canes, the Messi, the Ronaldo. Who are some guys, maybe even countries themselves, that a casual like me and Tanner might not know about, but is worth watching?
Yeah. Man, I guess what immediately comes to mind besides like a team like Norway that has a young Holland, who I think Holland's 25 years old now, and Martin Odegaard, who's a franchise player, if you will, for Arsenal. Those are two young guys, and Sorloth as well for Norway. That is a super skillful team and guys that are big, physical, and skillful guys. That'll be a fun team to watch because you got a guy like Holland, um, who only needs a couple of chances in front of goal, really. I mean, you're looking at one of probably the most elite strikers that we've ever seen, who's still dominating in every single way and obviously continues in this tournament. Um, Another team that comes to mind is Belgium. I call Belgium in this run, um, a sleeper team maybe because they I don't think they get their flowers very much, but obviously Belgium is not cast out. They're known as a very strong nation in these tournaments. They have players playing on this national team that play across the top European clubs, and you've got kind of old heads like Romelu Lukaku, for example, who came in and immediately with. I
Yeah.
mean, I think it went down as an own goal maybe, but he came in and kind of caused chaos in the box, and if he scored, I think it would have been the fastest goal by a substitute ever. And the guy's an old head. He's an old head.
Yeah.
And I just, he was a Chelsea, legendary striker at Chelsea. The guy's just fun to watch. And there's more where that came from with Belgium. I hate that like Eden Hazard, for example, was one of my favorite players of all time. He was like a left winger who's, come and gone, but Belgium has so much talent, and they're also skillful, and it's fun to watch. So I'd probably throw those two teams out there, as well as, I mean, if we're talking about fun games to watch, I love watching like Japan play, which is interesting. That the amount of energy and there's just such a disciplined nation in more ways than one. They have tradition of picking up, staying late after the games and picking up all the trash around the stadiums, all the
Yeah.
Japanese fans. And this comes from their culture of discipline, and this is just how they are. And it's awesome to see. And Japan is a very disciplined team. They're skillful. They're quick. They're not the biggest, so they were doing some weird stuff, crossing the ball in for headers, and the announcer I remember was saying, "What do they think they're doing?" And then they score one, right? It's like they know what they can and can't do. So I don't know how far I have Japan going. I mean, if they do well in their respective group, I see the United States playing. If the United States goes through and wins our group, and we go to the round of 32 as the top out of our group, then we will probably either play Japan or the Ivory Coast, which will probably be the third place team in their group. So that could be just fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those teams sound awesome to watch. It's difficult to find those teams that may, like Norway, have an absolute dog on their team that a lot of people might not know. It might be his coming out party in this for the casuals, I should say. But you got anything else, Tanner?
I guess the other thing I wanted to bring up, I know didn't go great for Curacao in their first game. I just wanted to bring them up because their coach has the best name ever, and is Curacao just are they the worst team in their group? Because I got to be honest, I got to see Dick Advocate in the knockout round.
Is that his name?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, I had no idea that was that guy's name. That does not sound like a native name for some reason.
Yeah, I do not think he's from Curacao.
Sounds like it's like a made up name, but I mean, I don't know, man. Nobody. I think probably shouldn't even say this, but I think it's in. Is it in the Bahamas or is it in the?
I think it is.
Caribbean.
The only reason I know that is because I know there's a lot of baseball players that are from Curacao, and they usually play for the Netherlands in the World Baseball Classic. And I know Aruba also plays for the Netherlands.
Yep.
So like there's a whole Dutch colony down there that just plays for the Netherlands. There's not enough baseball players to get their own teams that play for the Netherlands, but they got a soccer team.
Yeah.
Led by Dick Advocate.
A Dutch Caribbean island located in the southern Caribbean Sea. So we nailed it.
Cool. Well, look at us, man. I had never heard of that country before this World Cup, man. I'll be honest. I'm not a baseball, a scholar, so I'd never even heard of it. I expected nothing less than a 7-1 thrashing from Germany.
They did score, though. That was awesome.
And I think we saw it, dude. Germany. Yeah, and good for them. It was, I think they tied it 1-1, didn't they?
It did.
Wasn't that
Yeah,
what happened? And anyway, that was fun for a minute. And then Germany showed you what they can do. I mean, I expect Curacao to probably lose every game. They're in a very difficult group with Ecuador and the Ivory Coast. I think it's curtains for them, man. I think they're just happy to be there,
Yeah.
Good for them. Like, welcome to it, man. I think it's probably going to be a story they tell their children, even if they get thrashed, which I don't know if they will, because they have heart, and you love to see it, right? Everyone will probably be rooting for them,
Yeah.
to at least stay in it, not just get embarrassed.
I mean, how can you not cheer for Dick Advocate?
Yeah, I mean, they got heart and they got Dick Advocate. With that, you can go a long way.
That's awesome, dude.
Oh, man.
But I finally came up with the final question. Who has been the best host city so far for this
good
World Cup?
question,
Because
good
there has
question.
been some absolute banger atmospheres so far.
That's a good question, man. I wish I could be in each one to experience it myself. I don't like. I could speculate, right? I think, man, the atmospheres that I've seen, like in the streets of Dallas, for example, with the Netherlands, I think it was that, dude. It looked like they brought, half the country's population to Dallas.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And obviously some of those are like, stateside folks and bandwagoners, whatever. But man, like, I'll say Arrowhead Stadium is what it is. Arrowhead is so awesome. I've been to a Royals game right beside it, but I really wanted, and who knows, still might, go to a game at Arrowhead during this tournament. I will say the atmosphere around the stadium blows at Arrowhead. Like, it's just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So it's like the Royals and the Arrowhead in the middle of like a void, and so I can only imagine
Biggest parking lot you'll ever see.
Right? Yeah. And it's like, where the hell are we? But I can only imagine that the tailgating was awesome, and they always hold it down with the tailgating, I think, because they have to. But like KC Light District, Power and Light, or whatever, KC Live, whatever it is awesome. I've been there and hung out a while when I was living in Kansas City, and I loved hanging out there. It was actually is it the Big 12 tournament that they did in Kansas City for basketball? Was going on when I was there, and it was so cool. But I'm gonna have to say that they're not the best city. I'd probably say, I think Toronto does it well, dude. I think what a good sporting city that Toronto is, and they have a lot of shit going on right now. Like, I think they were like, the Blue Jays were hosting at the same time, like the same day or the day after the World Cup game was happening in Toronto. Like, I think that they're a dark horse of hosts. I'm sure they're getting crazy down in Mexico City, but.
They had a dog wearing a Mexico jersey. It was awesome.
Yeah.
He's just walking through Mexico City in a Mexico jersey.
All the clips from this World Cup have been absolutely incredible. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, what you had, like, was it the Danish team or Danish fans, like, took over Fenway? They went to like a the Red Sox game, and they were just like in left field. They're like, "What is this sport?" They were just watching.
Nice. I love it, man. I love that we're the host nation. I'm very impressed and super pumped about the kind of the reception as far as our fans and international folks coming in. I think a lot of people are using this as an excuse to travel here. For folks that maybe that I don't know. I feel like a lot of people want to visit the United States, and this is a good excuse for them to. That could just be me being a dumbass American, but I feel like that's kind of the vibe, and I love the vibe that's going on. I love the energy surrounding it. You've got a lot of people excited about it, and I went to a bar, here in downtown Bentonville. That man, if it was a small bar, if there wasn't 200 people there, like it was so fun.
Yeah.
And I just love to see it, man. That's what I grew up in. That's kind of my culture is, soccer, and that's what I love. So it's just cool to see everybody so into it.
Yeah. I mean, you see all the watch parties around the country. I know here in Des Moines, they've hosted, there's been like this giant block party basically when the U.S. played. So it is very cool when the country almost comes together for this event, and especially in this day and age. So it's been super cool.
No doubt. The other one I want to throw in, I think I saw the Norwegian fans. I think their thing they do is they like row a boat, basically. Like shout out Minnesota, row boat. But like there was a huge escalator, whatever stadium they were, and like their fans sat down on the escalator and were like pretending to row, and it looked like they were rowing themselves up the escalator. It was so cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. I love that, and I love the like the Viking clap or whatever that a lot of teams have adopted now. But it's a Nordic thing. Like that's where it
was
all
Iceland,
starts.
right? Iceland at like the 2018 World Cup, I want to say, or something like that.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And the rowing is just kind of like going back to their roots, and you love to see it. That's an example of just, culture making its way into the game, and like these people loving their country. And we, I think it's unfortunate how a lot of people don't love the United States that live here. You have this weird thing going on, but like a lot of us do love this country, and we have a lot of passion, and support the team and support the country. And I love to see that from these other fans too, bringing their culture to the United States. And that's what makes us so great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a perfect way to wrap up this discussion. Joseph, we want to thank you for coming on. You're our soccer guy, so we love having you on. We'll probably have you on once this group stage wraps up, talk a little of the knockout stage, but we appreciate you coming on, man.
Let's go. I look forward to it, fellas.
All right. We love having Joseph on, talking some footy, and one of my favorite times every 4 years. The World Cup's absolutely electric. Soccer fan or not, footy fan or not, you should be watching because, like we said, the country pride shown, and I feel like it has been even more evident this time around, and that might just be because there's so many clips being posted, but it has been absolutely awesome. We appreciate Joseph for coming on. But that's going to wrap it up for episode 221. Talked about a lot. Talked about your Knicks being crowned champions, the Carolina Hurricanes being crowned champions. Of course, talked some World Cup with Joseph Weinsinger. You can follow the podcast at crunchtime_pod on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Crunch Time with the N326 duo. But the clock has run out on this one. But we'll see you on the next one on Crunch Time.
I'll see you.